dig into, you want those real actionable insights fast. And we're not just skimming the surface here, so we've gone ahead and dug deep into all your sources for this topic. We've got articles, research, even a whole podcast script, all about personal development. It's like a deep dive into a deep dive.
Yeah, it's pretty meta, isn't it? Like we're
Yeah.
getting a behind-the-scenes look at how this advice gets made. I'm into it.
Okay, so let's dive into this treasure trove of personal development goodness. One thing that popped up a lot was this idea: SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound, the whole shebang.
Yeah, that's a classic for a reason. It takes that fuzzy feeling of, I want to be better. It gives it some real boundaries.
Totally. It's like that analogy I saw in one of these articles about a ship with no destination. You're setting sail on this personal growth journey, but without those SMART coordinates, who knows where you'll end up?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I need a destination when I set sail, even if it's just metaphorical.
Exactly. And this is where I think the material gets really interesting. You highlighted some sources on visualization, but it's not just about, picturing success, is it?
Right. It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually really surprised to find that research piece, the one about athletes using visualization. And I was thinking, it sounds kind of out there, like they're using their minds to improve their physical game. That's wild.
It really speaks to how powerful our minds really are. When we vividly imagine something, our brains actually start to react as if it's really happening. We're building those neural pathways.
Whoa, so we're not just talking about daydreaming here. We're talking about actively shaping our reality.
In a way, yes. By consistently visualizing our goals, we're priming our brains for success. It's like giving ourselves a mental head start.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Like when I imagine myself giving a presentation flawlessly.
And how does that usually turn out for you?
Well, I haven't fainted yet, so I'm calling it a win. But speaking of turning thoughts into action, this podcast script that we have here dives into habit building. And there's this quote from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, that really hit me. He says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems."
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It really highlights that we can't just rely on willpower alone. We need systems in place to support those goals.
Totally. And I was thinking about, remember that goal we were working on breaking down last month? About being more consistent with my writing schedule. Just setting aside the time. It wasn't enough. I needed a system to make it stick.
Exactly. And what did we come up with? Remember we talked about identifying your most productive time of day
Yeah.
and turning it into a non-negotiable writing block.
Right. And it's funny you should say that because we actually did create a whole ritual around it, didn't we?
We did.
That pre-writing cup of tea specific playlist,
Yeah.
It's like signaling to my brain, okay, it's go time. That's a system, right?
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where the desired behavior is almost automatic. And that idea of cues, right, like you were saying, of signaling to your brain, it's incredibly powerful.
Way more effective than just being like, all right, willpower, let's go, which
Yeah.
always seems to fizzle out eventually.
It's not so much about willpower running out, but rather about understanding that our brains are wired for efficiency. Habits, even bad ones, are just shortcuts our brain has created.
That makes sense. But then how do we hack those shortcuts? Especially for something like mindfulness, which is all about being present in the moment.
That's a great question. And it ties into this whole section we have on mindfulness and meditation. You highlighted how important these practices are, especially for someone like you who's constantly seeking knowledge, constantly on.
Yeah, guilty as charged. It's funny because I've tried those meditation apps before, but I always find myself getting distracted. Like, am I doing this right?
You're not alone.
Yeah.
A lot of people think mindfulness is about emptying your mind, but it's more about noticing those thoughts without judgment. It's about developing a different relationship with that inner chatter.
Oh, so instead of getting frustrated when my mind wanders, I should be like, oh, look at that thought. There it goes.
Exactly. It's about observation, not eradication. And over time, that practice, even if it feels messy at first, can lead to a sense of calm and clarity.
Okay. I can see how that would be super helpful, especially in those moments when I'm feeling like, super overwhelmed. But is there a link between mindfulness and self-reflection?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mindfulness can really enhance self-reflection. Think about it. How can you really dig deep into your experiences if you're constantly distracted or caught up in that whirlwind of thoughts?
Right. It's like trying to have a deep conversation with someone while they're scrolling through their phone. Not exactly a recipe for a meaningful connection.
Exactly. Mindfulness helps you to be more present with your own thoughts and feelings, which allows for more insightful self-reflection. Speaking of self-reflection, that's where journaling comes in. You marked a section in one of the articles about the power of journaling.
Yes. That 5-minute journal method really caught my eye because it seems so simple. Even for someone like me who's always short on time, it's just 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, right?
Exactly. And don't underestimate the impact of those brief bursts of reflection. It's about consistency over quantity.
It's like we say, right? We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in a year. Small actions, consistent effort, big results. And that kind of reminds me of that whole growth mindset concept.
It is all connected. I was really struck by that article you flagged about Carol Dweck's work, about growth mindset, this idea that our abilities aren't fixed, like we can actually grow our intelligence and talents. That's powerful stuff.
It really is. It's not about being naturally gifted or anything. It's about embracing challenges and learning from setbacks, which, let's be honest, are inevitable on any journey, really.
It's so true. And a growth mindset helps you reframe those quote-unquote failures as opportunities for learning and development. So instead of thinking, oh, I'm not good at this, you think, okay, I'm not good at this yet.
That is such a small shift, but it makes all the difference. You know what's really cool about all this is all these things we've been talking about today. SMART goals, visualization, habit building, mindfulness, self-reflection, growth mindset. It's like they're not just random personal development buzzwords.
They're more like, I don't know, tools in a toolkit. Each one has a purpose, but they all work together to create a more fulfilling life.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And just like any toolkit, the most effective approach is knowing which tools to use for which situation and how to use them together. It's not about using every tool all the time, but being intentional and adaptable in your approach.
So it's about building that self-awareness to recognize, okay, in this moment, I need to tap into my growth mindset, or this situation calls for some strategic visualization.
Exactly. It's about becoming the architect of your own growth, using these tools to design a life that aligns with your values and aspirations.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about. It really feels like we've taken all these personal development concepts and woven them together into this tapestry of actionable insights. And as you continue on your journey, remember, it's a process, not a destination. There will be ups and downs. But by embracing these principles and cultivating a growth mindset, you'll be well-equipped to navigate whatever challenges come your way and create a life filled with purpose and fulfillment.
So well said. So if you had to leave our listener with one final thought, one small step they can take today to start applying all this incredible wisdom, what would it be?
Take a moment to reflect on what area of your life you'd like to improve. Then ask yourself, what is one small action I can take today, however small, to move me closer to that goal? Remember, even the smallest step in the right direction can lead to incredible transformations over time.
That is such a powerful reminder. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of personal development. We hope you've gained some valuable insights to fuel your own journey of growth and self-discovery.